Hello, good morning and welcome. My name is Kevin Smith and I'm Editor-in-Chief of International Railway Journal, and welcome to this webinar presented by UNIFE, the European Rail Industry Association. And the topic is Boosting Railway Digitalisation thanks to EU Research and Innovation. Digitalisation as a concept really began to make headways in Europe, in the European railway sector in the middle of the last decade. At its core, digitalisation is defined as a process that uses digital technologies to alter a business model. While often labelled a buzzword, in practice for the rail sector, it has meant the adoption of digital technologies to facilitate processes ranging from asset monitoring and predictive maintenance of rolling stock and infrastructure to more effective training of staff. The importance of continual digitalisation is reflected in the objectives of the European Commission's Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy, which was announced in December. This document includes 82 initiatives which will guide the Commission's work for the next 4 years and sets various targets for the rail sector over the next decade, including doubling high-speed passenger traffic and increasing rail freight traffic by 50% by 2030. The strategy also emphasises the importance of digitalisation and innovation to shape how passengers and freight will move around in the future. Inevitably, identifying and developing the required digital technologies and processes requires a renewed focus on research and innovation. The Shift2Rail joint undertaking includes a number of notable digitalisation projects, some of which I expect we will hear about today. Its successor, the Europe's Rail joint undertaking, has placed digital innovation and automation at the heart of its future's work. So the Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy outlines some ambitious targets, but it's now up to the sector to work to deliver them. Today's webinar features 4 speakers who will each discuss how research and innovation is set to play a key role in this process. So I'd like to introduce those speakers to you now. Firstly, I'd like to say hello to John Cluren, who's a senior expert in Clean Planet, Future Urban and Mobility Systems at the Directorate General for Research and Innovation at the European Commission. Secondly, we have Carlo Borghini, who's Executive Director of Shift2Rail. Thirdly, Antonella Trombetta, who's the Head of the European Affairs at Hitachi Rail and the Shift2Rail Innovation Programme 2 Steering Committee Coordinator. And finally, last but not least, Christophe Chéron, who's Shift2Rail and European Partnerships Coordinator at SNCF, and also the ERAC Strategic Rail Research and Innovation Agenda Leader. So the webinar itself is kind of a roundtable discussion. We have some set questions for all of our speakers, and then we will invite some questions from the audience. So to ask a question, if you're looking at the display, there's a display at the top with a question bubble in the bubble. And if you write your question in there, and our moderators will go through those and select the best ones, and we'll put them to the speakers. So yeah, pardon me. So the discussion should last around an hour, and yeah, we're looking for some really interesting insight on the future of research and innovation in Europe. So firstly, I'd like to sort of ask our first question to really get this kicked off, and that's to John Cluren, who's from DG General for Research and Innovation at the Commission. So the question is, the European Green Deal and Europe Fit for the Digital Age are 2 key policies of the European Commission. The contribution of European research and innovation is key for the digitalisation of the whole rail sector, and this represents a fundamental element of the EU's long-term sustainable development strategy as underlined in the Single Basic Act. And this includes Europe's Rail, the joint undertaking, the successor to Shift2Rail. So John, what are the European Commission's views on Shift2Rail and its successor, Europe's Rail's contribution to the European Green Deal and Europe Fit for the Digital Age?
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, we have a lot of expectations. that's quite normal, no? From a political body, you have a lot of expectations. The interesting thing of the railway system is the rail sector is that it fits perfectly both objectives. The European Green Deal, let's start with that. It's a beautiful gift to the sector in the sense that it's the only sector that already has the answer now. It's not 100%, let's say, zero emission. We all know that. We still have diesel trains, etc. but it's for a very, very large extent. It's already green, and it's embraced, so to say, by politicians, but also by citizens. We know that Greta Thunberg declared train as her preferred mode of transport. So the European Green Deal, it's actually the global leitmotif for innovation in the decades to come. Everything we do, basically, it will be checked: is this green or not? So that's fantastic for the railway sector. Of course, we have to understand it's not only about climate. The Green Deal is also about environment. It's also about biodiversity, and it's about well-being in general. So the rail has of course a responsibility to look at all those aspects. But today we are talking more about the digital side of the story. Europe fit for the digital age. That's a nice title for what we do on the digital side. There are three main pillars there. It's called, the first pillar is technology that works for people, and the second pillar is fair and competitive digital economy, and the third one is an open and democratic sustainable society. And there are a few elements that we should pick out which fits the rail sector in particular. It's the fact that ICT should help in achieving climate neutrality by 2050. It talks about introducing artificial intelligence, and in that sense, it fits all very well to the rail sector. And if you now zoom into what actually has been written by the industry and has been represented in this single basic act that you mentioned, so that's basically the blueprint, the highest level blueprint for the new Europe's Rail joint undertaking. There's a quote. It's about that the partnership will develop and deploy innovative technologies. Well, that's normal because we talk about R&I. And then it says, especially digital and automation. So we all agree that digital and automation is the only way to achieve this radical transformation of the rail system, and indeed to deliver to the Green Deal objectives. In that sense, we have very high expectations, but on the other hand, we have to understand that the rail sector, that these partnerships, we had Shift to Rail, and Shift to Rail, it's a perfect title for what it is. Shift to Rail is really the transition initiative, which sort of started off with research as it was done before, very individual projects, no real coherence. And now towards the end of Shift to Rail, we see an enormous progress, that the sector is really working together. And you can also see that individual members, individual actors and individual companies from the sector are slowly and gradually saying, well, okay, we are doing things that benefit our own company, but we also understand that we have to do things that benefit us together. And if it benefits us together, it will also benefit us as individual actors. And that is something we want to do and continue with Europe's Rail. We don't have this sort of learning curve anymore. We know better what we want to do. But on the other hand, we have to understand that these are research and innovation programs, and these are not investment and deployment programs. So that's where the role is, and that's also where the challenge will be for the future to come. Is how can we use this great experience of Shift to Rail, this positive collaboration between the different actors? How can we bridge that to the deployment side? Back to you, Kevin.
Sure, thank you very much. Well, maybe while we're mentioning Shift Rail and Europe's Rail, the best person to bring in is Carlo Borghini, who's the Executive Director of Shift Rail. So specifically, as John mentioned there, digitalisation, automation and connectivity are key enablers of the ongoing digital transport revolution. So Carlo, how is Shift Rail harnessing these enablers to establish a fully connected and integrated digital rail transport system, sort of picking up on what John was talking about?
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning to the colleagues, and thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure. It's difficult to speak after the words of John, because he mentioned the progress that's been done by the sector. Shift to Rail is the enabler, but at the end is the sector willingness to transform the rail system that is there and is materializing, becoming stronger and stronger any moment. And I think, as John said, the enormous progress achieved in the last years is a way to do it. And exactly is bringing me back on how we integrate digitalization, automation, connectivities inside Shift to Rail and in future Europe's Rail. Well, effectively, as John said, we had a transition in Shift to Rail. We started with a fundamentally bottom-up technological-driven approach that has helped us to consolidate the actors around Shift to Rail, and this has been a fundamental component. Without this, would not have happened anything else. And during the years, together with the key members, and I would say starting with the founding member, we have here Antonella, but also we have here Christophe representing the key player in helping us in this. We have been moving towards realizing the importance to introduce a system approach in making the maximum, obtaining the maximum benefits from the digitalization of the rail system. And I think this is really the type of evolution that help us to look at rail in a much more integrated manner and be at the same time capable to look at the specific requirements in order to address the limits that we have today in rail. And this exercise has been not so simple, because effectively we have to a certain extent make our program more agile to embed the different type of solution coming from digitalization, automation, and connectivity inside the program. And this resulted in different, clearly, friction that we had to manage, but also being the real added value of transforming the way of working together in the rail system. So the initial definition of functional system architecture that we have, thank you to the work that is done by the projects like Links for Rail, but also the contribution of initiatives started at national level or between different nations, like the OCORA for the onboard, or the RCA for the trackside, or ULinks, and many other initiatives. But now all contributing to the setting up of a rail functional system architecture. It allows us to harness really the benefit coming from digitalization and automation. But where we need to move on now is, and I think this is the next step that will also bridge with Europe's Rail, is rethinking. We need to rethink the way we are operating the rail system. Rail system at large has been operating in the same manner. When you digitalize and when you automate, you cannot simply replicate. Antonella explained to me some development they did concretely, in which they were requested to reprocess digitally the mechanical system they are producing, as well as Jürgen from Siemens told me the same story. So the question is that going to introduce automation and digitalization require to harness, recognize what they can do, harness the benefit of it, rethinking the way we are working. And this is one of the major difficulties we have, because rail is fundamentally recognized for its safety aspects, security aspects also more and more. So combining digitalization and automation is quite complex, because we know that none of the, let's say, digital and automated system will reach the perfection that maybe will be delivered by a C4 mechanical system. But if you put them together, and we can combine them together, and we take advantage of all of them, combining them together, I think this will be allowing us to really be capable to take the maximum advantage of it. So the functional system architecture on which we are working in the Links for Rail projects, and in the future in the system pillar, but I think will be for later on the discussion, The idea is to create really the opportunity to combine together all the evolution coming from the introduction of different technology in the different components, but looking that at the end, we have a system working together and taking the maximum benefit of the performance created by the new technologies. So I think this is really the approach we are looking at in Shift to Rail. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlo. That's great. Well, just to bring Christophe Cher on into the discussion, Christophe is at SNCF and the coordinator of work in Shift to Rail, but also with the European Railway Research Advisory Council. And we know that ERAC delivered its strategic rail research and innovation agenda at the end of 2020. And digitalisation is one of the core topics of this new strategy. So as the leader of ERAC's strategic rail research and innovation agenda, Christophe, what in your view are the key priorities for research and innovation that will enhance digitalisation of the railway sector in the next decade?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Yes. What to say more after what was said by John and Carlo? Yes, effectively. But yes, it's important that, as Carlo and John mentioned, that the sector is unified in terms of vision regarding its future, on the future of the rail mode in Europe. That is for us a must, and that is important because we answer to the need of going towards zero carbon mobility, and it was raised by the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda, which I leaded the last phases with the task force under the banner of ERAC, the European Rail Research Advisory Council. And I thank you all my colleagues for the confidence they gave to me for that. Yes, digitalization, and we are all convinced that digitalization is at the heart of the mobility of tomorrow, at the heart of the rail mobility. We all want, even if it's sometimes a dream, to make rail a backbone for mobility. Yes, but when you are at a level of market share of 10 to 20%, yes, we have to work hard for that, but we are ready to work for that. Digitalization is everywhere in the systems and will be more and more, yes, and invading all our system in the future. And when you see all these cutting edge technologies arriving, and that's we have to capture them in order for them to better provide the better service, innovative, share, barrier-free, more agile and integrated systems, decrease service cost. Yes, we have to decrease the cost of the rail service all over Europe, yes, and especially in order to also to favored by the new technologies. And to raise the expectation and perception and opinions about the relevance and the attractiveness and the value of the globally public transport on the rail mode. What we raised in the 3 areas, it was organized along 3 main topics: the services, the operations, and the breakthrough, the technological breakthrough. The services, yes. We are part of the door-to-door mobility. We have to be integrated, and we have to be well connected to the other modes. That's part, and even if, and for that we have to work in close collaboration with the other mode in a global and global view. The freight is a hot topic and very is at the the main topics we raised. It's given the competitiveness of the other modes. We have to put efforts for the rail freight, and we raised it in the 3 for rail freight being the backbone of a global logistic chains all over Europe. What about digitalization in our operations? They are going to be everywhere, yes, and even in some bigger part of Europe, yes, the system is sometimes manually managed. It has to be, and the digitalization will improve the effectiveness, the efficiency of our operation, yes. As Carlo mentioned, yes, by transforming our systems into and supporting it by a common functional rail system architecture, yes, some sort of connected and open rail framework for the open mobility. But also in our day-to-day management of the rail system, yes, the traffic management systems, digitalization will be at the heart in order to be more and more agile, facing disruption in a better way, yes, for the better service to our customers, and adapting the system in real time. What about the leveraging of technological breakthrough? Yes, we raised many topics around that, organized around the automated and autonomous operation. Yes, ATO is more and more a topic and a hot topic for all of us. Yes, from the urban transport, in which it's simpler. Yes, because you are in closed systems, and CBTC systems now are spread all over the world. Now, yes, we see the first experiments, but automation should spread it all over the mainline European railway systems, in order, again, to provide a better service by better management, more efficient management of the rail systems, providing responses in real time, more agility. That is quite important for us. Our asset is important, and you know, our infrastructure is a centennial infrastructure. Yes, so smart asset management and the way we are going to maintain our system is very important, on all the technologies and the breakthrough technologies are needed for that. I could mention robots, the use of satellite technologies, the artificial intelligence that is going to invade, spread all our systems. And also, yes, one of the last, the railway digital twin we raised, simulating and virtualizing our systems could also support great advantages for real management, from the design of the system to the end of its life, through the operations, helping to decrease a lot the cost of all the physical tests that are needed to wait for the effective certification of our system. And we know it could be it is sometimes a nightmare, yes, given the level of physical test we have to carry out in the system to effectively implement, but also supporting simulation and virtualization for reaction in real time in our management of the operations, and targeting, ensuring we have the right target, and we always keep the right targets for all our in our design phase and all our operations. That's quite all, but it was important for us to raise again all that topics.
Sure, you covered a lot of ground there, Christophe. So if anyone has any questions, I know the speakers are bringing up some really interesting topics. Feel free to ask them in the chat. On the panel, there's a little question mark in the bubble at the top of the screen. If you click that, and you can type your question in, and I'll put them to the speakers as we get there. So yeah, just moving on then. So, and to bring Antonella into the conversation, Antonella is the head of European Affairs at Hitachi Rail, and she's also the Shift to Rail Innovation Programme 2 Steering Committee Coordinator. So maybe to draw down a bit more specifically about the work from Shift to Rail, Antonella, but so the work you've done in IP2, which covers rail control, command and communication systems, a topic which was touched on there by Christophe, and includes the evolution of ERTMS. In your capacity as the Shift to Rail IP2 coordinator, how is this work contributing to the digitalisation of railways?
Well, Thank you. And I think that now I'm giving some concrete examples about what Christophe already said, 90% of what Christophe said. The challenge of the innovation program 2 is to upgrade the control, command and communication system in order to make it more flexible, real-time intelligent traffic management and decision support system. The main target is also to increase the competitiveness of any new solution compared to the market needs, always more demanding. The X2Rail X project are the Shift2Rail IP2 projects. They developed 11 different technical demonstrators that will give a step forward on the digitalization of the railways. They are 11, but they are fully interconnected. They are not different, even if are 11 different, but they are fully interconnected. The ambition is to use the new technologies as the wide and strong communication system to create the basis of the digitalization of the railways. We, in the IP2, as also in the other IPs, but especially in the IP2, we have some concrete example that we already achieved and we are going to achieve till the end of the program that will be in 2023, at the beginning of 2023. The first big result is related to the technical demonstrator of ATO, the automatic train operators. It is related to the automatic guide, and with the grade of automation 2, it means that driver assist more or less, and both we did test both for passenger and freight, and the result gave a great confidence that the ATO specification, that both for the onboard and the trackside, will be part of the next CCS TSI 2022. It means that we are concluding the first step of the process to an automated, autonomous vehicle in railways. It's a big step forward. The specification of the grade of automation 4, that means fully automated, is under development, and at the end of the project of the program, there will be there will be prototype with demonstration on site. We have another TD that is very important, that is the new adaptable communication system. It designed the new rail network from a communication system point of view. It's integrated the successor of the GSMR, that is FRMCIS, and it is, let me say, integrated in with all other TDs as the train integrity, the moving block, and the smart wayside object controller. It's the fundamental pillar, a building block for the complete digitalization of the railways, mainly in the wireless configuration. We have another important TD that is zero test on site. The aim of this is to reproduce virtually field test, reducing a lot the need to go on site, but also the day-by-day activities, and it will reduce drastically the cost associated. The IP2 TDs have also allowed to progress in the setting up of an optimized traffic management system that will improve the traffic management operation with the automated process by using data integration, and open the possibility to exchange this data also with other rail business services. For a railway point of view, this is the first step for a new system close to what we call mobility as a service, more present probably in the urban mobility, but also for the railways now we are working on it. We also worked on other improvements in the moving block and the virtual coupling. Virtual coupling is, I think, the most innovative activities that we have in the IP2, that the aim is to define how we can apply a sort of platooning among trains. And we have also the train positioning, again another innovative activity, that the train positioning via sensor that use the high technology and the newest technology, including also the satellite one. There is another topic that I would like to highlight. The railway has strong safety rules, and Christophe could confirm it. And we, as part of the sector, are very proud of this aspect. But we need to understand that the impact of the new technologies, mainly based on telecommunication, opens an issue and requires a deep, specific analysis, especially also on the cybersecurity. And for this reason, the IP2 has its own technical demonstrator related to the cybersecurity. A key challenge of Shift2Rail IP2 is to enhance the advanced traffic management and control system without affecting the ERTMS core, because we would like to avoid to jeopardize or to do not recognize the strong effort we made for the ERTMS. And the challenge is, when appropriate and necessary, to provide backwards compatibility, to prevent and to protect all the investment already done, both for the main line and the urban railways. I think that the IP2 is one of the major programs inside Shift2Rail that gives the building blocks for a future digitalized railways. Yes, and we will continue, of course, in Europe's rail. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Antonella. There's some fantastic examples there, some really exciting technologies. And maybe just to go slightly off script, just to ask you a follow-up question. But I know one of what Carlo talked about, an objective of Shift2Rail is to bring things to market. A lot of the technologies you're talking about there, and perhaps Christophe could perhaps chime in here as well, because the SNCF has obviously got its own automation program. But when do you expect a lot of these technologies that you mentioned, becoming active in the active railway environment and being used in commercial traffic?
Yes,
yeah.
Christophe? Yes. Yes, by the fact, I fully agree about what all was said by Antonella. Yes, and yes, and all these technology are needed. Yes, the challenge and what we succeed in Shift2Rail is that the national level is not anymore sufficient. Yes, because the market is a world market. The efficiency has to be reached at the European level, and that's why Shift2Rail was far more needed, and we think a lot on the enlargements that will be supported by Europe's rail is far more needed to make our system more agile. I will say it again. I will say it again after. Yes, in capturing new technologies, because it's sometimes difficult in with our legacy systems. Yes, that are so different from all over Europe. Yes, to really manage the effective implementation in our systems, and we have to simplify our system. We have to adapt it to the new technologies, and on this functional rail system architecture that was raised by Carlo. I fully think it's a major change for all of us in order to ease a more upgradable European rail system.
Definitely. And just for you, Antonella, like your experience, when do you see a lot of what you've been working on coming to market?
Yes, okay. I think that especially as a supplier, I can say the common vision will help. Of course, the overcoming of the nationalities will help. This was also the aim of ERTMS. Probably what we thought in the 90s was to have a different deployment, not a different, a quicker and wider deployment in 2020s. So if I suppose to come back in the 90s, I think that thinking about 30 years later, we're supposed to have all the European area deployed with the deployment of ERTMS. I think that this is the way, this is the right path, but we need also to take advantage of the lesson learned that we had. And of course, we as a supplier, of course, strongly push on this single European railway area, because we need to have a market, even if I can also understand that sometimes we would like to preserve our internal market with our preferred customers. But in any case, with a large scale, we are more high-level companies. The aim is to have this common view. We have also to put on the table as a supplier that what we did in the ERTMS was also exported outside Europe. A lot of countries that are outside Europe use ERTMS as a starting point. And this can give us the message that what we study and we develop and we test in Europe is something very great. And so for us, if we reach a common path in Europe, probably there will be also market in foreign countries.
Sure, and I think Carlo wants to make a comment.
Thank you, Kevin, because I think you have centered the issue. One thing is to do research innovation, and one thing is to have this research innovation translated in procurement activities by operator and infrastructure manager to the supply industry. And I think this is really where is our next step we need to target. Europe's rail will continue to work on research innovation, but what we have done together with the Commission, with the ERA, with the founding member of Shift to Rail and the future candidate founding member, is to look at exactly how to ensure that these technologies enter into the market, because everything is too late. And if you look at other continents, and don't take my words as a criticism, but if I look at the speed of some other continents in implementing a train protection system, without mentioning what they are and it's not important, there is some difference that we need to look. It's true. We come from a railway network that has been divided by 27 for many years, or 28 before, built with exactly with different type of logic. We are now moving towards synchronizing the network, bringing together, but we need to have the correct way to take the decision to bring solution into the market. This is a fundamental component for the return on investment of everyone, starting with the passenger and the rail cargo operator. And this decision will be painful. Simple like this. So it's not that we decomplexify or we simply have all. As John said, we are in a quite spotlight at the moment, because when you look at the European Green Deal, when you look at the strategy of the sustainable and smart mobility strategy, the answer is often brought up with rail. But rail means we need to change. And we need to take this major opportunity to change now. And the question, your question is when it's too late already. When we look at and this is really where we need to, but change the approach and the mindset to the transformation. We are looking at the European Duct Delivery Program, as you know, Kevin, and when we are looking at the migration path of the duct, the digital automatic coupler, we cannot expect to do it in 10 years, 15 years. There will be no market. There will be simply no market. So we need to do it in 3 years. And in order to do it in 3 years, 2 years, okay, I'm putting big numbers on there. We need to have the people of Philippe working with us from the supply industry to ensure you have 1.2 million, if you want to upgrade all the vehicles in Europe, DAC ready by this date. We need to have the people working with Christophe telling us these are the migration paths that we can have in our maintenance system. And we need to have the commission saying, and we need to go to the commission saying, hey guys, we are ready, we have a plan, we have a migration plan, we can help you to achieve the 50% targeted increase of by 2030 of rail cargo and double by 2050, but we need to find a correct business model to achieve it. I'm not talking about grants, funding, or other form. I'm talking about the correct business model, how we have return on investment and how we achieve it. I think this is really, and this is the reason why I bring forward the idea of the European DAC delivery program, because as Antonella said, IP2 is the core of the program, is the brain, is the center of the program. It's where we can make a difference compared to the rest. But the European DAC delivery program, why is interesting? Because it's the first concrete example. We take a technology and we bring it to the market. And what is really incredible is how the sector is working together on this, because there is a clear business case, a clear return on investment in front of us, and a lot of issues to be solved, clearly. But this, I think, is the major approach that we need to look at in the next generation of the activities, counting on next generation EU funding, but especially on going with a concrete business case involving all the actors around the table.
Absolutely. Maybe to bring John back into the discussion, but Carla was talking about then, obviously delivery, but Europe's rail only has so much money in the future, and it's less than what the industry was hoping for, and it's short of expectations. But there is opportunities, and I know Carla has talked about this before, about Europe's rail working together with other EU research programs, to both benefit itself and also to benefit those programs. Is that something you favour, and how do you see that potentially playing out in the future?
Yeah, of course, the public funding is an important element. We have, we all agree, a very successful shift to rail. It's not yet completely finished, but it's already shown its success with an array of very impressive results. Digital automatic coupling is certainly one of the shining stars of the results. We are very aware of the fact that, let's say, all sectors and certainly also the rail sector need to be helped. The request originally from the sector was a new joint undertaking for the value of 1.5 billion euros. In the end, it became 600 million euros. Well, 600 million euros is still an impressive amount, and it represents an increase of 1/3 compared to shift to rail. But of course, we have to see what we do with this money. First of all, we have to work, and we are already in the background working closely with the industry and also with other stakeholders on seeing what is actually really needed at a relatively short horizon. As Carlos said, success, you need to do things in years, not in decades. And I think we all agree about that. At the heart of it is, for instance, that we start working on this control, command and communication system issue. And we have to develop this and to make this element in something that works, can be implemented and will be implemented. The nice to have elements, or elements that do not sufficiently benefit the common good, perhaps will receive less funding or will not be supported at all, and this will be painful for some actors in the joint undertaking. Another element where we have to look at is we have this need for large demonstrators. We have to showcase the results. But also these large demonstrators are quickly becoming very costly. And there I think we need to become creative. How can we do this? Of course, part of it, let's say the first steps can still be part of the R&I program, and then you have to look where else can we go. It's a strange time for all. COVID is mixing up and messing up things on the financial side as well, on the economic side as well, and we have to see how the sector can survive. I mean, many railway operators and I guess other actors in the sector are looking at enormous deficits. Member states are looking at deficits. Of course, we at the European level we can do things, but in the end it has to be financed as well. Of course, we have now the recovery and resilience facility as part of the next generation EU post-COVID recovery strategy. And this is intended to support public investments and reforms. It's an impressive amount of 650 between 650 and 700 billion euros, partly in grants and partly in loans. And that's where we have to look at. How does that work currently? First of all, it's up to the member states to do something with this money. And that's of course correct, because it's in the end money coming from member states. The actions have to be in line with the main EU policies. So basically, they have to be green and digital. And here I think are the opportunities for the railway sector. Because at national level, these plans have been presented. They have been published. I don't know if who of you has analyzed them, but I had a look at them, particularly with the railway's eye, and I see that there are some very important opportunities, but there are also important risks. The opportunities is that indeed several member states and a lot of member states are including railways in their national recovery and resilience plans. So that's very positive. The risk is that I don't see a lot of coherence, and I don't see a lot of synergies with for instance, Shift to Rail and Europe's Rail. And I think that's a challenge and an obligation almost to the actors that we have who are actually working together at a European level to say, wait a minute, we have to make sure that whatever we invest will be, let's say, will be robust for the future, so that we don't have the same issue as the ERTMS, that we do these investments with a European and a standardization and a sort of a synergy mindset, and that's let's say one of the most important tasks that are ahead of us now. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you. I don't know if any of the speakers have any thoughts on what John said there. He covered, again, a lot of ground.
I think the message that John, if I may, Kevin, passed is really important. We have important level of resources, and it's up to us now to prioritize them to deliver the results. And clearly, it's not that we give up on our target objective. What we want to achieve is still there. We want to have the ambition to have a major program. We will also continue to fight and lobby for the maybe additional funding in the future. But we need to start to prioritize with the target that the work that Antonella is sharing, the agenda prepared by Christophe in the context of ERA can materialize. Because we have to address the issue for passenger and rail cargo people.
Sure. Okay, just to refer to one of the questions in the chat, I mean, I could direct this one at Antonella, but it's a bit off what we were talking about there, but it's relating to what you were talking about, cybersecurity. Are there any particular challenges relating to the openness of specifications and being made compatible with cybersecurity, which is obviously a big concern for signalling? And usually, for the question asked, usually for cybersecurity, you would not like third parties to know how the system works. For interoperability, you obviously need the opposite.
Okay. First of all, I answer with pleasure because I'm a supplier, so the supplier would like to avoid the complete openness of specification, especially in the in the specification of the product itself. Of course, also in Shift2Rail and also on the TDs related to the cybersecurity, we are working on the interoperable interfaces. So we are not specifying exactly about the product is working because it's something inside our IP as in terms of intellectual property, in this case, in our IPs inside the companies. We are not working on open specification at all. We are working on the standardization of, especially of the interoperable interfaces as much as possible. And what is done inside the cybersecurity TD is not defining how to prevent some, but is to define the rules, the special rules of required by the railways related to the cybersecurity. Because, as I said, we have very, very strong safety rules, and everything as the cyber attack can affect the safety inside the railways has to be strongly understood. So mainly in these TDs are defined all the activities that needs to be done, especially for having a secure system based on the telecommunication. I hope that this can answer the question. And of course, as a supplier, I strongly fight to reduce as minimum the open of the specification inside the products, of course.
Sure.
Yes, Christophe, interoperability is not openness, that's clear. It's the ability for the operator to operate all over the interoperable system without any big technical problems. Yes, and we perfectly know that today it's not totally the case, but we are fighting all for that. And with new technologies supported, as Carlo and Antonella mentioned, yes, to ease our technological transformation.
Okay, well, I've got you there, Christophe. One of the other questions we had was, for SNCF's perspective, as a founding member of Europe's Rail, what are your expectations for this program compared to Shift2Rail? And what do you feel that Rail's digital game changers might be as part of this process? And should be delivered in the next decade to establish Rail as the backbone of mobility.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Yes, very quick comments on that. Yes, we now have to have with Europe-Rail to implement deeper, larger, and harder evolution of the rail system. Yes, and on the big problem we have all over Europe. Yes, as us, the operators, is how to make evolution to our legacy systems. And you know that's always complicated, yes, but going towards an ambitious harmonization of the overall rail systems at the level of EU to improve the business case based on efficient operation and cost-effective technical solution. Yes, all is said in this long question. it's a challenge for all of us. We wrote it in Iraq's RIA, but all is said in that, yes, and we need money for that. And Europe's rail, shift to rail, on the further Europe's rails are the natural location. We need to improve our collaborations, preserving also the role of each of the actors. The operators are not manufacturers, and the manufacturers are not operators. But we know that we have to overpass sometimes some limits that were established between operators and manufacturers in order to commonly increase the global efficiency and the ability to capture new technologies. So I could mention a lot, yes, on satellite localization, train integrity, cybersecurity, yes, the further steps for ERTMS, robotization, smart management of the asset, artificial intelligence, artificial vision, yes, and this functional rail, European rail system architecture, yes, all that will be needed for us in the future.
Sure. Okay. I was just going to ask just one final question, and then I'll bring in Philippe Citroën just to conclude the session. I mean, I think we could talk about a load of the topics here for most of the morning, to be perfectly honest. We covered so much ground. But I wanted to specifically address to Carlo about the systems pillar of Europe's rail, which is a key element of this initiative in the future, and also want to ask Antonella about this as well. What is the importance of the systems pillar, and what are your expectations of what this can achieve for Europe's rail as it evolves?
Thank you. Maybe I can start, but Antonella, please intervene whenever you think is. The system pillar is, first of all, we are looking at the rail research innovation, the full life cycle. So the system pillar, the innovation pillar, the deployment coordination group are part of this full integrated life cycle. Nevertheless, when we are looking, why we have set up the system pillar is because when you're looking at concept of operation, when you're looking at the functional system architecture, we need to have an appropriate governance that ensures that there is a convergence at European level on the way to take, on how we operate the rail system in the future. And this is the reason why we have identified specifically the system pillar. The second element is that Antonella said clearly, and also Christophe, we are not talking about open things. We need to preserve the knowledge and know-how of the companies. But we need to be able to be sure to operate all this knowledge in an interoperable manner, integrated manner, in a modular manner. And in order to do this, we need to be sure that whatever we create, design, put on this as a result of the research innovation, fits together in the overall new way of working, or new way we operate the rail system. And I think this has been the experience that we have, the lessons learned from Shift to Rail. As Christophe said, he mentioned a list of technologies that can make major changes. These technologies, they can come at different time. They can be evolving different time. We need to be sure, as much as possible, since the inception of them, that they will fit together to maximize the performance of the operation of the rail system, like it happens in other sectors, in other mobility systems. At the end, what we want to have is that, I would say, by 2026, the governing board has adopted a decision on Friday that to extend my mandate up to 2026. And I'm really grateful for this, and I'm really happy to have this major opportunity. But I would like to see by 2026 a prototype ATO 04 capable to run on our rail system. This is what I want to see. In order to do this, we need to put all these technologies together, and the actor around the table and this is the reason why also in the membership of Europe's Rail, we have a major evolution. And I really appreciate the words of Christophe. Each of the new actors, especially we have 10 members of the operating community, will have their own role. They will not be playing the supplier. They will have the role of operator and infrastructure manager. They need to bring all their know-how in order to bring this up. And the supplier will have to play the role of innovators and bring inside their know-how from this point of view. And this is really where we need to bring all the solution on the table. So the system pillar is really the scope of ensuring the shared approach to the future concept of operation, to the functional system architecture, of which the seeds are in the effectively in the Links for Rail project that is led by SNCF, but with major operator like Deutsche Bahn and all the other, but the supply industry, all the actors around, in a manner that technologies, operational solutions are all fitting together by inception, by design, in an interoperable, unique system.
Yes, I think that I can only add that we, as with the supplier point of view, we strongly believe in the system pillar approach. We consider that the cooperation within the sector will be our key success. And of course, if I put also on the table, I'm happy also as a citizen of Europe, seeing that this system pillar give me the idea that we are really moving and thinking as Europe and not maintaining our nationalities. Yes, I think and I think that also we support, we as a supplier support this system pillar, and also our aim is to give our contribution, the right contribution coming from our perspective, of course, sharing our knowledge and experience, especially in technology and integration, and of course in the strongly cooperation with our customer and also the other stakeholders. Thanks.
Sure. I don't know if John or Christophe had anything else to add to what's been said. Or,
No, Christophe, yes, I think all was said by Carlo and Antonella, and I fully agree with that. Yes, system pillar is far more needed, and yes, our success to effectively implement the new technologies has to be overpassed, and we have to succeed. We are condemned to succeed in the future, yes, so, because there are so big attempts regarding the rail mode, we have to succeed together.
Yeah, I think emphasis on future success is a good way to conclude. So yeah, I'll bring Philippe Citroën in just to round off the session, and just some concluding remarks. So thank you to all of our speakers this morning, and some great contributions and interesting discussion points. And I think the future of research and innovation in Europe is in an exciting and interesting place, and there's a lot of excellent things that are going to happen in the future, I'm sure. So it's we wait to see what happens, and the great work that these individuals are doing comes into fruition. So yeah, so to bring in then Philippe, if you would like to round things off.
Thank you, Kevin, and thank you to all the speakers. I think it was a very interesting session, and I think more or less you've said everything which is important for us. Just this is an important week, because during this week the Parliament is going to vote for the Horizon Europe, which is a very important vote, of course, which is linked to what we've been saying. And secondly, all the member states have to send to the Commission the national delivery plans on the recovery, so that it's important to see what will be in the national recovery plan. But I think that John already mentioned the thing. As everything has been said, I just wanted to say that 10 years after early discussion with the European Commission, Shift2Rail is delivering key innovations for the digital transformation in Europe rail transport. Don't forget that Shift2Rail has demonstrated its capacity to manage a series of innovations that bring together more than 500 stakeholders from across Europe, including manufacturers, railway operators, infrastructure managers, research centers, universities, and I know that Carlo has been involved in all this program, and it is certainly an extremely big success. The second thing which has been said, and it's important, is that you are all expecting that everything goes as quickly as possible, this research project to the market. That is what you've been said, you've been mentioning the prototype, but it's true that it's important. But we see now, for example, if you take the example of the mainline automatic train operation, which will be part of the next ETCS baseline, is almost there in the market, and we've also listen to what you say. We have now this ERAC strategic rail research and innovation agenda. I know that Christophe has been involved in this, and this is a kind of the Bible for the next years for us. We know what are the projects we have established with the support of Carlo. No priority, we know where we have to go. And I will not mention again what you've been saying on the system pillar, but it's certainly extremely important for the future of our sectors, for the acceleration of the definition of the ECCS, European Rail System Architecture by the rail sector. And I think that there's already a lot of work being done on this system pillar. And I know that the objective for the Commission and the Shift to Rail GU is to be ready by this summer on this program, the system pillar. So the last thing I would like to say is that we also call the European Commission and EU member state who are negotiating the Single Basic Act to make sure that the new rail Europe's rail GU will have the capacity to reach the ambition of the rail sector, and we'll show all the participants of this meeting who are very committed to the success of Europe's rail that will be able to reach a very good result. And I think we can quote what John said, we need to do things in years, not decades. That's important when you see some of the things that have happened in the rail sector, but we are quite confident with as this event was in the framework of the European Year of Rail, and it's one of the events that we organize, that a lot of things will happen during this year, which is so important for us because the budget are now being put in place, and that is important for us. So I would like to thank you again for being in this event. The next event that we will organize next month will be called Leveling the Playing Field to Maintain the Global Leadership of European Rail Industry. It will take place on the 31st of May from 10 to 11:30. So again, thank you very much for this debate. Thank you to Kevin, because you have moderated this session very well. And thank you again for all the people who have attended this webinar, and I wish you a nice day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.